Whitehall, London, the 26th of May, 1940. While 338,000 British soldiers are being lifted off a beach in northern France, 5 men sit down around a table in a ground floor room. The ceiling is low. The lighting is harsh. There is a map on one wall and the muffled sound of civil servants moving through corridors outside. What those 5 men decide over the next 3 days is the most important story of 1940. And almost nobody knows it happened. Spitfires banking against a summer sky, wings catching the light. Churchill in the ruins of a bombed street, hat and cigar and 2 fingers raised. London burning orange against the dark. The white cliffs above Dover, clean and still and standing. None of this was inevitable. All of it was a choice. And the choice was almost made differently. To understand how close it came, let's start with the world Britain was standing in. Not the poster version, the actual version. France is gone. In under 7 weeks, at a cost of just 156,000 casualties, Germany has conquered the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and France. 4 countries, ancient armies, defensive lines built to make another war like the last one impossible, brushed aside by armored columns that didn't take the routes anyone expected. Every European leader Hitler has challenged thus far has either backed down or been conquered. The pattern is not ambiguous. The British Expeditionary Force is coming home from Dunkirk. The Royal Navy gets 338,000 men off the beach. That part is rightly remembered. What is less remembered is what they leave behind. 64,000 vehicles, 20,000 motorcycles, 2,500 guns. The men stagger off the boats and collapse on the dockside. Across the whole of Britain, there are 80 heavy tanks. They are obsolete. 55 divisions exist on paper. Many are at half strength with no artillery worth the name. 21 miles. That is the width of the Strait of Dover, the narrowest point of the English Channel. German officers are standing on the cliffs of France with binoculars and cameras, photographing themselves staring across. Goering himself poses for the shot. The English cliffs are visible from where he stands. They are right there. The American ambassador in London cables Washington, Britain is finished. General Weygand, as France collapses, reportedly tells the French premier that within 3 weeks, England will have her neck wrung like a chicken. In neutral capitals from Madrid to Stockholm, the diplomatic consensus is quiet, confident, and waiting for the announcement. The logic is not monstrous. It is, on its own terms, reasonable. A shattered army, no allies left standing in Western Europe. Germany in possession of the entire continental coastline from Norway to the Spanish border. Reason says Britain will negotiate. In a room in Whitehall, 5 men are deciding whether reason will prevail. The 5 men are these: Winston Churchill, Prime Minister for all of 16 days, a stocky, bulldog-built man of 65, pale-faced, watchful-eyed, distrusted by most of his own Conservative Party for a history that includes Gallipoli and 2 decades of being right about Hitler while being mocked for it. He had written in his memoirs of the night he took office, "I felt as if I were walking with destiny, and that all my past life had been but a preparation for this hour and for this trial." Lord Halifax, Foreign Secretary, tall, cadaverously composed, a high Anglican aristocrat of immense personal discipline who had been the king's preferred choice for Prime Minister when Chamberlain fell, who had been offered the keys to the gardens of Buckingham Palace as a mark of royal favour, who had turned the job down. Neville Chamberlain, Lord President of the Council, 71, visibly unwell, suffering from what will prove to be terminal colon cancer, the umbrella of appeasement still hanging over his reputation, still the leader of the Conservative Parliamentary Party, still capable of tipping the balance. And the 2 Labour leaders, Clement Attlee, small and quietly formidable, and Arthur Greenwood, his deputy. And these are the men on whom the question falls. Halifax is the most important figure in this story and the most overlooked. He is not a fool. He is not a coward. He had turned against appeasement in early 1939 when he concluded that Hitler could not be trusted. That conclusion is on the record. What he brings to the table on the 27th of May is not weakness. It is a different calculation. France is signing an armistice. The British Army is on a beach without its equipment. The RAF, whatever its virtues, is unproven in the fight it is about to face. And the alternative to negotiation, as Halifax sees it, is a war Britain cannot win, costing lives it cannot afford to lose, for an outcome it cannot achieve. His memorandum is called Suggested Approaches to Italy. Mussolini is not yet in the war. The proposal: use him as a broker, find out what Hitler might want, explore a settlement, preserve something. He frames it carefully. He frames it like a man who has thought it through. It sounds, stated plainly, like the rational thing to do. Churchill sees it differently, and this is his pivotal insight, the one that changes everything. Halifax is not responding to an offer. There is no proposal from Hitler, no terms, no deadline, no message to answer. Halifax is asking Britain to go, cap in hand, to Mussolini, to ask the man who has just pulverized a continent what his price for peace might be. Churchill understands with a clarity that is almost cold that the moment Britain makes that approach, it is finished as a sovereign power, regardless of any terms that follow. Because asking is itself the surrender. To the act of asking signals that Britain believes it cannot fight. Once that signal is sent, it cannot be unsent. The terms are irrelevant. The asking is everything. This argument is made at 4:30 in the afternoon of the 27th of May in a ground floor room in Whitehall. Halifax presents his memorandum. Churchill opposes it. The debate is sharp, civil, and genuinely uncertain. Chamberlain holds his position. Attlee and Greenwood are with Churchill, but they are Labour in a Conservative government, and their weight only carries so far. Halifax nearly wins. That is the thing the history books leave out. He comes very close. Churchill has one move left. On the 28th of May, he convenes not the 5-man war cabinet, but the full outer cabinet, all 25 ministers of the government. And he speaks to them not as a committee, but as a country in the balance. The speech ends with words those present will carry for the rest of their lives. If this Long Island story of ours is to end at last, let it end only when each one of us lies choking in his own blood upon the ground. The room responds, not politely, not procedurally. The ministers surge around Churchill. They are with him, unanimous. Chamberlain reads the room and aligns. Halifax, who is many things but not a fool, stands down. No approach to Mussolini, no request for terms. Britain will fight. Halifax remains in the cabinet. Churchill cannot afford to lose him and trigger a Conservative rebellion. But the appointment that follows, a few months later, is telling. Halifax is dispatched to Washington as British ambassador. The man who wanted to find out what Hitler might want is sent to the country whose industrial and military power will eventually destroy Hitler's Europe. The full irony of that posting will take years to become visible. For now, it is simply a diplomatic assignment. Churchill has won the first battle of the war, not over Germany, over his own cabinet. Hitler is surprised. He had expected, not unreasonably given the situation, that Britain would come to terms once France fell. Instead, he receives a series of speeches so blunt they read in translation, almost like a dare. On the 16th of July, he issues Führer Directive number 16. The language is spare. Since England, in spite of her hopeless military situation, shows no signs of being ready to come to an understanding, and I've decided to prepare a landing operation against England. Operation Sea Lion. 250,000 men, 60,000 horses, nearly 35,000 vehicles, landing on a 200-mile front from Weymouth to Dover. On paper, it has the shape of a plan. The German Navy reads it and concludes it is a fantasy. By the summer of 1940, the Kriegsmarine has lost more than half its surface fleet in Norway. 1 heavy cruiser, 2 light cruisers, 4 destroyers available for operations. Against the Royal Navy, the 1,200-plus barges being assembled along the French coast are converted rivercraft, suitable for canals, not for crossing a tidal seaway against destroyers. The Army wants a 200-mile landing front. The Navy says it cannot protect more than 40 miles, and the argument is never resolved because neither side can deliver what the other needs. Hitler understands the problem. He does not trust the sea. He is prone to seasickness. He reportedly tells his naval commander, "On land, I am a hero. At sea, I am a coward." There is one precondition on which everyone agrees. Before a single German soldier boards a barge, the RAF must be destroyed. Goering promises this will take 4 weeks. The summer of 1940 over southern England. Blue-skied days, high broken cloud, visibility stretching 20 miles or more. Grass airfields in Kent and Sussex, Merlin engines turning over at all hours, pilots in canvas chairs outside dispersal huts, waiting for the telephone that means everything has started. Below the airfields, English villages still largely untouched. The war, from the ground, looks almost normal. It is not. When the battle opens in July, Air Chief Marshal Sir Hugh Dowding has approximately 768 aircraft against a Luftwaffe that can put over 2,500 in the air. The numbers look decisive. They are not, because Dowding has spent 4 years building something the Germans don't understand. Chain home, radar stations along the British coastline capable of detecting incoming aircraft from 80 miles away. 30,000 civilian volunteers in 1,000 observer corps posts across the country, tracking enemy formations once they cross the coast, all of it feeding by telephone to Fighter Command headquarters at Bentley Priory, then out to the groups, to the sectors, to the scramble orders, and finally to the pilots already climbing into their cockpits. The whole system, radar contact to wheels up, runs in minutes. The Germans know radar exists. What they do not know is how the network functions. When they bomb the chain-home masts, the tall structures prove difficult to destroy with precision bombing. The system survives every raid. The Luftwaffe is fighting an enemy that can see them coming from 80 miles away while believing, through most of the battle, that it holds the element of surprise. 2 other advantages appear on no order of battle. From May 1940, the RAF is running its Merlin engines on American 100-octane aviation fuel, boosting horsepower from 1,000 to approximately 1,300, a difference that matters in a turning fight. And the Messerschmitt 109, fine aircraft though it is flying from occupied France across open water. And its range is so limited that Bf 109 pilots over southern England are already watching a red warning light. Linger 2 minutes too long, and the return flight becomes impossible. They give the anxiety a name: Kanalkrankheit, channel sickness. July brings the Kanalkampf, the channel battles, convoy attacks, the Luftwaffe testing British defenses. Then, on the 13th of August, Adlertag, Eagle Day, the assault on the airfields begins in earnest. Poor German intelligence leads to systematic misidentification of targets. Sector stations are attacked while training fields are left alone. On the 18th of August, both sides lose more aircraft combined than on any other single day of the campaign. It becomes known as the hardest day. That same day, the German intelligence estimates the RAF is down to approximately 300 serviceable fighters. The figure is wildly wrong, but the Luftwaffe is making targeting decisions based on it, pressing harder, convinced it is almost through. Then, the critical phase. The 24th of August to the 6th of September, the Luftwaffe concentrates its assault on the sector stations of No. 11 Group, the nerve nodes of the Dowding system, the rooms where radar data become scramble orders. They begin taking damage that cannot easily be repaired. Pilot losses exceed the output of the training schools. Experienced men are gone. Their replacements arrive with less flight time than the battle demands. Biggin Hill, Manston, Hornchurch, cratered, patched, cratered again. By the first week of September, the sector stations are close to failing, but not broken. Close. Then, on the night of the 24th and 25th of August, German bombers stray off course and drop their loads on London. Churchill orders a retaliatory raid on Berlin. The raid is not large. Its military significance is modest. Hitler's fury is not. On the 7th of September, Göring turns the full weight of the Luftwaffe away from the airfields and toward the city. Nearly 1,000 aircraft cross the Channel. The East End burns. The docklands glow orange against the dark, visible from 50 miles away. The sector stations of No. 11 Group, days from becoming inoperable, are given time they would not otherwise have had. The breathing space to repair, to regroup, to rebuild. The system that was bending is allowed to straighten. Hitler's rage, directed at the civilian population, unknowingly saves the one thing standing between his invasion fleet and open water. The 15th of September, 1940. Churchill comes to the underground operations room at No. 11 Group headquarters at Uxbridge. He watches Air Vice Marshal Keith Park's controllers move plots across the table. Every available squadron is airborne. Every marker is committed. Churchill turns to Park. "What other reserves have we?" "There are none." Churchill goes outside. He cries. Below, the Luftwaffe fails to break through. The losses, not visible from any single position, but accumulating across the whole Channel front, are becoming unsustainable. 3 days later, Hitler indefinitely postpones Sea Lion. He will never put it into action. 20 days earlier, Churchill had addressed Parliament. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. The phrase is true. It is also not quite the whole truth. Of the 2,936 pilots who flew at least one authorized sortie during the battle, 595 are non-British, 145 Poles, 127 New Zealanders, 112 Canadians, 88 Czechoslovaks, 9 Americans, pilots from Jamaica, Barbados, Newfoundland, and elsewhere. The Poles alone account for 12% of victories while comprising 5% of pilots. Number 3, O3 Squadron. Polish, men who had watched their country torn apart, who had been evacuated from Dunkirk, who flew with a precision born of everything they had already lost, is the highest scoring Hurricane unit in the entire battle. And the few were not only British, and Britain was not, in any simple sense, only Britain. London, the autumn of 1940. Grey dawn light through smoke haze, the smell of wet ash and burst water mains, buildings standing open to the sky, wallpaper still on the walls of a second floor with no floor beneath it, a fireplace hanging in mid-air, RP wardens moving through rubble in tin helmets, underground platforms at Aldgate and Liverpool Street packed with sleeping families, children curled on folded coats. The whole city retreated underground to wait for morning. London is bombed for 57 consecutive nights. Then Coventry on the 14th of November. More than 500 German aircraft, 568 civilians dead, a medieval cathedral gutted to blackened stone. Then Liverpool, Plymouth, Bristol, Birmingham. And by the time the Blitz ends in May 1941, 40,000 British civilians are dead. Churchill tours the ruins. He is photographed doing it. Dark suit, tin helmet, cigar in hand, surveying what remains. The grief in those photographs is not performance. In October 1940, 80% of the British public, when polled, said it was impossible for Germany to win the war by bombing alone. The Blitz does not break civilian morale. It does not achieve air supremacy. It consumes Luftwaffe aircraft at a rate that cannot be maintained. And in June 1941, Hitler turns his bombers east. He has a different country to destroy. Major Graf von Kielmansegg, an officer in the 1st Armored Division quartered near Orléans, was pulled from a cinema on the night of the 28th of August 1940 and told to report immediately. He was certain, and as he walked in, that sea lion had been given the green light. He asked, "Are we on our way?" "Yes," came the answer, "but not to England, to East Prussia." "So then we knew," he later recalled. Sea lion was a dead duck. Britain is still standing, bombed, exhausted, grieving. Still standing. June 1941. Hitler invades the Soviet Union. Churchill, who had spent 20 years as the most vociferous anti-communist in British political life, announces Britain's full support for Stalin without apparent hesitation. His private comment, which reaches those around him almost immediately: if Hitler invaded hell, he would make at least a favorable reference to the devil in the House of Commons. There are moments when history allows itself a dark joke. This is one of them. December 1941. Japan attacks the American fleet at Pearl Harbor. See Roosevelt cables. Churchill: today all of us are in the same boat. Churchill recalled that night in his memoirs. "I slept the sleep of the saved and thankful." On the 11th of December, Germany declares war on the United States. The Grand Alliance is formed. How did Britain survive alone? Here is the simplest answer. It survived long enough not to have to survive alone anymore. Now comes the reckoning. Churchill is voted out of office in July 1945. Between VE Day and VJ Day, between the end of the war in Europe and the end of the war in the Pacific, he celebrates Germany's surrender as Prime Minister. He watches Japan surrender from the sidelines. Clementine tells him it might be a blessing in disguise. "At the moment," he says, "it seems quite effectively disguised." Neville Chamberlain resigned from the War Cabinet in September 1940. Terminal colon cancer. Dead by November. He had lived long enough to see the policy he staked everything on proven catastrophically wrong. He did not live long enough to see how it ended. Dowding is the figure history treats most poorly, and the treatment is worth dwelling on, not with outrage, but with quiet attention. He is removed from Fighter Command in November 1940. Weeks after winning the battle, he had spent 4 years building towards. The system he designed against institutional resistance, insisted on against bureaucratic skepticism, and refused to dismantle under operational pressure. That system had proved itself the margin between survival and defeat. He is shuffled to inspect American aircraft production, and eventually knighted, eventually made a peer. He dies in 1970, aged 87. But the dismissal is what history remembers, and the dismissal is what deserves remembering. The architect of British survival, discarded by the institution he had saved. And then Halifax. Halifax in Washington, serving as British ambassador from January 1941. Performing the role, by all accounts, with honor and effectiveness, doing precisely the work of cultivating American engagement that formed the foundation of everything that followed. The man who believed Britain's survival depended on accommodating Hitler's Europe spent the decisive years of the war in the country whose power destroyed it. He helped deliver the alliance that the man who outmaneuvered him needed to win. Clementine Churchill, if encountering him at a diplomatic luncheon and hearing him disparage her husband, replied, "If the country had depended on you, we might have lost the war." Halifax asked her to apologize. She declined. The myth deserves one last examination. Britain stood alone. It is true in the way that matters most. Britain was the only sovereign government in Western Europe still fighting. No capitulation, no armistice, no government waiting in exile for someone else to bear the cost. That fact is real and counts for everything. But the RAF's Roll of Honor lists 595 non-British pilots who flew the battle. After France fell, Germany was at war not only with Britain but with Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Newfoundland, Bahrain, Nepal, Oman, and Samoa. Lend-Lease was building, the Commonwealth was fighting, and Britain was the nucleus, but always a nucleus gathering something larger around it. The hinge of all of it, the thing on which every subsequent event depends, was 3 days in a ground-floor room in Whitehall. Not the speeches, not the airfields, not the radar, not the poles, not the 100-octane fuel. All of those matter, but they all depend on the decision that came first: to fight. Had Churchill lost the argument to Halifax on the 28th of May 1940, there would have been no Battle of Britain to win. No D-Day, no liberation of Western Europe, no reckoning with the regime that had swallowed a continent. The whole subsequent history of the war pivots on a single vote in a room that no one visits and almost no one knows existed. History has stranger hinges than we usually admit. Then Group Captain John Hemingway flew Hurricanes with 85 Squadron in the Battle of Britain. He was 19 years old in the summer of 1940. He died on 17th March, 2025. He was 105 years old. He was the last. The summer of 1940 is now beyond living memory. What happened in it, in the War Cabinet Room over the Channel above London, has passed entirely into history. But it is worth knowing in its actual form, not its myth. Because the myth says Britain survived because it was brave. The truth says Britain survived because 5 men made the right decision in a room that nobody saw. Because a radar network worked the way its architect designed it to. Because an enemy made 2 catastrophic mistakes at the worst possible moment. And because the people on the ground, in the shelters, on the platforms, in the streets, refused to break. In the white cliffs above Dover. Blue sky, nothing in the air,